Which driver will lose the F1 seat this season? Tommy, we are going to be talking about drivers under pressure.
And there's quite a few of them. 4 of the 20 drivers we've picked out here, and I think that's quite a big percentage of the grid when they're, meant to be the best in the world, and 4, I'd say, have had not the best seasons, to say the least.
Let's see if, firstly, we think whether or not they're going to get binned off, and we'll also rate it out of 10, won't we, Tommy, about how likely it will be. 1 being, nah, no chance. 10 being, see you later, mate. The first driver at risk, Lance Stroll. So this comes in from O'Quilt, and they say, yes, very unlikely considering his dad's role. However, looking at it on paper, Stroll is really holding Aston Martin back this year when you compare what Alonso is able to get out of the car. And another one from @YouBetterLeggett. In a fair world, it would be Lance Stroll. Both the race pace and qualifying gap to Alonso is just unacceptable, but we all know that's not going to happen. So Lancey Poo, I've given this a 3 out of 10. In terms of likelihood, 1 being no chance, 10 being 100% going to happen. There is a small chance that Lawrence Stroll wakes up one day and goes, maybe this ain't worth it. Maybe my son's success is not going to happen here, but I can still be successful as the father. But the majority of me thinks the only reason he's in Formula 1 is to live vicariously through Lance Stroll. So that's why I've given it a 3, because I don't think it's completely impossible, but very unlikely.
I'm going to give it a 1. Because I don't think he's going to lose his seat this season. I don't think there's any chance he's going to lose this season. I think the question's going to be later on, maybe. I've seen a lot of people recently talk about Lawrence is a businessman and, there's a lot of people investing in Aston Martin and he owns Aston Martin now and they need success. And I think at the moment, Lance is fine because it's not like a Perez where, they've got Daniel Ricciardo on the sidelines and everyone's like, oh, Daniel Ricciardo. If Lance Stroll is out, it's Felipe Drugovich, with the greatest of respect, 1 F2, good driver, but he's not like an elite driver that's jumping into that seat alongside Alonso and going to score loads more points.
How do you know?
Well,
just if you're listening, Felipe, I back you.
Well, I think he'd do well, but I'm not talking about like.
Would he do better than Lance?
He may well do. I mean, at the moment, Lance is 80 points off Alonso, I think, or something ridiculous. Comes to the end of the season, Lance is 150, 200 points behind Fernando Alonso. Then the pressure really ramps up because say we get to the end of the season as well, and these Aston Martin upgrades that they're hyping up, they're going to go into that new season with a genuine chance, and Lance could cost them the Constructors' title. And that's when Lawrence has to make that really big decision of course I want my son to be in Formula 1 and be successful, but he's holding back my business and that team. And there's going to be sponsors, investors, everything putting pressure on that because Lance could end up costing them.
So the reason I went for 3 rather than 1, because you said, no chance. You don't become a billionaire without being ruthless. I just think that there is that small inkling where maybe Lawrence just snaps and goes, no, Fernando Alonso is now my son. I've adopted him and we will get a different driver in.
We said it would take some kind of miracle for Lance to lose his seat, and that miracle might well be Fernando Alonso.
Okay, let's move on now to our next driver, Nyck de Vries. So a suggestion at CritRTV, and they said, De Vries is the correct answer here. A decorated and seasoned open-wheel driver not at all performing. I could see Nick out, Daniel in happening. Also, it's Red Bull. It's what they do. This is coming from an RBR fan. And another suggestion at One Tweet for Mankind. Probably Nyck de Vries. They brought him on because they were losing Gasly and they didn't have a junior driver they were crazy about to see if he might have some crazy unseen potential. He's not doing well and there are Red Bull juniors waiting.
I will say an 8 out of 10, mainly because of all the drivers. This one seems the most likely. There are people, like the person said beforehand, waiting in the wings. There's so many reasons why I think De Vries could lose his seat, not just because he's not driving particularly well, but, the person in charge of all these drivers in the Red Bull stable is Helmut Marko. And Helmut Marko has maybe been a little less ruthless than he used to be. Look what happened with Tsunoda. They kind of backed him a bit more than they normally would, and he's now performing quite well. But Nyck de Vries didn't come from the Red Bull Junior program, and I do wonder if there's part of Helmut Marko that's like, you know what? This just shows that actually my decision's the best decision, and we should hire Red Bull Juniors.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 in terms of possibility of Nyck de Vries losing his seat this season. If he continues on the way that, on the path that he is right now, there's no reason to keep him on. He had to at least be on the same level as Tsunoda, if not better, for him to keep his seat, in my opinion. He's very much going against the tide, as you say. He's not from the Red Bull Academy. They've got juniors waiting. They've got Liam Lawson, who is obviously doing incredibly well in pretty much everything that he's driving at the moment. The Red Bull program has always been very much, if you're not performing, you're out. So that's why it's a 9. Although I don't think it'll be Daniel Ricciardo that comes in for him. Realistically, it will probably be Liam Lawson, in my opinion.
We recently received some epic PC specialist systems for all our computing needs, and these are powered by Corsair IQ straight out the box. Just look how awesome that looks, and you can build it better with Corsair IQ at PC Specialist. Corsair IQ software connects all your Corsair IQ compatible products together in a single interface, giving you complete control over your entire setup. Corsair's latest IQ software with murals enables you to complete the ultimate RGB, red, green and blue setup that not only fits your style, but can be dynamically changed to match your favourite visuals or digital content. You can configure your own Corsair IQ build with PC Specialist at the link in the description below.
Let's now move to our next driver, unfortunately, who is under pressure in our eyes, and it's Logan Sargeant. This comes in from @Trevor_SP22. Despite being a rookie, he struggled tremendously and Albon has destroyed him. I love that he's American, but he just can't get a grip on the car. So I have gone for a 5 out of 10 for Logan Sargeant. I'm sort of middle of the road, obviously not sort of done any kind of performances that make you sit up and take note. Albon, as Trevor says here, has destroyed Logan, and to be honest, some of it you could say is expected with Logan. It's his rookie season and so on, but there have been rookies in the past that have done a lot better. He has that American tie, which I think we kind of played down a little bit. If he's not winning, then who cares? It doesn't really matter if, you got an American driver at the back of the grid. But I still feel like there is something to be gained from that. But again, it kind of comes back to, is there anyone really waiting in the wings?
I'm going to go for a 7 out of 10 then for Logie Sarge. I think at the end of the season, he's going to be under a lot of pressure if he's still not performing against Albon. Of course, he doesn't have the upgrades yet, but even when he was on a level playing field, you can argue, he's still a rookie and Albon's got a bit more experience. But, I expected a bit more from him. He should be a lot closer to Alex Albon. Alex Albon's having a great season. He's a brilliant driver, but is he he's not Fernando Alonso, is he, with the greatest respect to Alex Albon? And a little disagreement I will say is that I think you mentioned about the whole American thing. Maybe I've not paid enough attention, but I don't think there's been a lot of hype around him other than maybe just banter memes about what the F is a kilometre and all that kind of stuff. And I'd argue that I actually don't really know anything about Logan Sargeant. Logan's just gone a bit under the radar, and maybe that is because he's finishing 16th and 17th, so there's not a lot to talk about.
We now go to our final driver, Sergio Perez. So this comes from @SSRay. I don't think he's the worst, but Red Bull are not known for being easy on underperforming drivers, and his last 3 races have been terrible. Savage. What do you rate it, Tommy?
End of the year, I'd say maybe a 3 out of 10. I think this all depends on how good that Red Bull is at the end of the season, because we've said there's so many times when we're talking about it that if that Red Bull is absolutely clear of the field, then Perez doesn't really matter. He's going to finish 2nd or 3rd in the title, but then they'll still win the Constructors' title because of Max and then him, and Sergio getting decent amount of points, if not spectacular. So if Aston Martin catch up, Mercedes, Ferrari, then Perez is under pressure because he could be costing them the title. Max needs a rear gunner. I don't want to sit here and say that Perez has been worse than what Gasly and Albon did, but I think if he carries on the way he is, you've got to put it into perspective that when Albon and Gasly were in that Red Bull against Max was finishing 3rd, and then when they were, in the race, they were finishing 11th, 8th, 12th, whatever, because the midfield was really close. Whereas now, Perez has a bad race and it's like 5th, 6th because the car is so good. So I think this...
Clearly not good enough, though, to secure P2s and 3s like Bottas did.
Well, exactly. So that's why I think he'd be under pressure if people catch up.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with a 1. I am categorically confident that Sergio Perez will be at Red Bull next year. When you actually look at all the second drivers that have come into that Red Bull team, Daniel Ricciardo is probably the last person to have really actually extracted something from that Red Bull. So why would Red Bull risk putting another driver in that they don't know? It's a coin toss as to whether they're going to be able to get their head around the Red Bull philosophy. Perez right now, he's not the ideal number 2, but he's won this year. He's got it at some points. He's got the confidence, not all the time. That's why he can't challenge for the championship. But Red Bull, I don't know why they would ruffle Max Verstappen's feathers as well. Why would they potentially bring a driver in that Max might not get on with as well? Those two get on very well. I'm sure Max likes him as well because there is not really any challenge over the course of a year. Perez will be in there next year. Unless he bins it in every single race from here to the end of the season, Sergio's got a safe slot for next year, in my opinion. But let's see. I mean, Perez could bring it back. He has shown at points this season. We were even speaking, can he challenge for the title? And now look at us. It's crazy how things can change so quickly in Formula One. We actually put a vote out. Which of these drivers do you think is most likely to lose their seat this season? 32,000 of you voted, and 77% of you voted for Nyck de Vries as the most likely. 11% Logan Sargeant, 9% Sergio Perez, and 3% Lance Stroll. I can guarantee that part is not based on performance, but based on his father. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening. Let us know in the comments section below what you or who you think the driver will be to lose their seat this season, if anybody. And we'll see you very soon for another piece of content. Bye!
Bye! The traditional ending now.
I am so hot.